This is Pop Culture Yearbook, and welcome back to our final installment of our summer vacation series. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year, and then we discuss the memories we have and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I'm Pete.
And I'm Giff.
And tonight we're wrapping it up, like we said, with Vegas Vacation. So this is the lone installment in the series that is not National Lampoon's endorsed. And it came a few years later, so it might be the kind of the black sheep of the series, but we'll see what we think. And I'll just give you a little hint.
We've already had the black sheep there, bro.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's better than European, in my opinion. So we can just start with that much.
Yes.
All right. Anyway, Pete's going to run us through this one tonight, so take it away, Pete.
Yeah, first, I do want to talk about a little story. I just got back from vacation, and because this is our vacation series
in July.
Yeah, we do. That's what you do. And we actually, it's not Las Vegas related.
Pete, in January, February, March, April, May, June.
I get it. I know. But we just got back from Boston and New England. We did a nice little road trip. We actually flew into Boston, rented a car, drove up to Maine, saw Acadia State Park or National Park, came back to Plymouth, and did a few things in that area. But I wanted to tell a quick story about a boat tour that we took. It was one of the highlights, or it's supposed to be one of the highlights of the trip, which is a boat tour of Boston Harbor, which Brad, it was very similar. You and I, a couple of years ago, we went to Chicago and we did that boat tour.
Yes, we did
the architecture tour. So
that
very
was a very
similar.
Nice little tour we did.
It was a very nice little tour, as was this one for a little while. But it was similar in that basically it was actually a much bigger boat this time around, which it was a pretty big boat we had in Chicago. This one might have been I don't know, almost twice the size of that one. Really big tour boat. Anyway, what it is you pay your money, you get on the boat, and they give a tour of Boston Harbor, and they point out sites along the way and everything. And our family is on the third deck because we wanted to get the best view. It was a hot day and everything. And about a half hour in, the tour guide is pointing out something off on the starboard side, which is the right side of the boat for you non-nautical people in the audience.
Land lovers.
So yes, left side to be port, right side to be starboard, right? But anyway, she's pointing out something to go look at, and I turned my head to look at it, and all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of commotion going on from the second deck right underneath us. So we're towards the back of the boat, which would be the stern.
Wow, you are a boating genius.
So anyway, it's like, oh man, what's all that commotion going on? And then we hear everybody starts to suddenly yell, "Man overboard," which you really don't want to hear on a boat like that, especially that size and everything. It's like, when you hear that actually for real, it's the first time probably anybody had heard it, in real life, where it actually happened, where somebody went overboard on the boat. And so it's like your heart just sinks, like you get that pit in your stomach. It's like, oh my God, it's like we're out in ocean water. We're about a mile from the closest land and, 3 miles from our actual pier, I would say, where we took off from. What's going on here? And I'm looking around to see if, how is it even possible that you could fall overboard? Because I'm looking for my own safety, my kids' safety. Is there a way, something we should be watching out for? But the guardrail was well over waist high, so it would have been almost impossible just to fall off or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, this guy was either drunk or he jumped or something. And as it turned out, because my wife and kids actually saw it happen, he actually jumped off the boat deliberately. And he, the little bit of a scary thing is that beforehand, he yells out, "I came, I saw, I conquered," before diving into the water. from, it had to have been about a 20-foot dive, 15 to 20 foot, I would say.
Jeez.
What's his name? Crazy Joe Davola?
I don't know.
I'm
I
just glad to hear it wasn't Goldie Hawn.
don't know. So, and then, it takes time, for the captain to stop a boat like that. It's like to actually stop the boat. And now he's got to turn it around and try and rescue it. It's like, there's no way this guy's going to survive. We're in deep ocean water here. But this guy was treading water and he was able to keep his head up, but he was actually attempting to swim back towards shore away from the boat, which was totally bizarre. But then eventually they did get the boat there, got a ladder down and got him up on board and everything. And then the Coast Guard, they were working with the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard said, you guys got to come back immediately. No more tour, anything like that. So, yeah, they canceled the whole rest of the tour, which really sucked for the rest of us. But they got him back, and I assume that he was arrested because when we got back to shore, they had like all these emergency vehicles, fire trucks, ambulances. They had a stretcher waiting, but he didn't need it. He was okay. And all of that. But I was not too happy with him. I wanted to yell at him. Thanks for making it all about you, asshole.
Right.
But I didn't. I refrained myself. And
did everybody think this guy was really cool? That was a really awesome thing.
Right.
What was weird is that it was about a 90 or 95 degree day. So really hot up on the boat where there's no shade. But he was wearing a sports coat and jeans, whereas everyone else is just wearing a shirt, a t-shirt or whatever and shorts and still cooking. So it was planned. It was obviously planned. And I was wondering if he might have even been wearing a wetsuit underneath it because it's hot outside, but that water is pretty cold. So, right. But anyway, nobody got hurt or anything, but we missed out on our tour, which was which kind of sucked. Pete. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Say, Pete, what was the name of the park you went to in Maine?
The Acadia.
Acadia. Is there any rec to do in that park?
What?
Park and I had to get it in.
Wow. I think we should come a little more organically than that, Gifford. Save it for later.
Thank you. He'll be here all week.
Yes.
So anyway, that was just my my story, and it was actually pretty scary for a while, but like I said, nobody got hurt and anything like that. So that concludes that. So with this being to turn it more over to the topic of what this episode is about, we're going to be discussing Vegas vacation. So I'm going to turn it over to Gifford. We're going to be talking about our Vegas stories / memories. So Gifford, do you want to lead us off in that conversation?
Absolutely. So I've had the opportunity to go to Vegas only twice. Once, the first time I believe was 98, 97 or 98. Courtney and I went there on spring break. We stayed at the fabulous Sahara Hotel. I'm not sure if that's still there.
It is not there.
Yeah?
It's very sad.
No, that is not there.
Yeah. Well, I think that was one of the last places that had like $1 or $2 blackjack.
We all went and played there. The year you came, yeah.
Yep.
That was
early
2000s. Every time we went to Sahara.
Yep. So we stayed at that hotel. It was kind of a window shopping vacation in that we were in college and didn't have a whole lot of money. So we kind of just walked around and saw the casinos. We did take in a show at, is it the Excalibur? Is that one of the castle one?
Yeah, that's no longer there either. But
lame castle.
Isn't it?
One.
I think it's no longer there.
So we went to a
maybe
show there.
That one I think is still there, although I'm not 100% sure.
I thought I heard that they were going to be taking that down.
I think I did too. Go ahead, Giff.
So so that was just a quick little spring break vacay for us. And then the other time I went with you guys, and it was for opening of the football season, opening weekend of the NFL.
But Pete did not go on that one.
Really, I was not there.
Right.
Thanks for the invitation. Appreciate
I'm
it.
pretty sure you were
I'm
invited.
sure
You probably were on vacation with Jenny.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So
The
that was a
Excalibur
fun
is still
trip.
there, by the way, according to Google
Oh, it
Maps.
is.
Really?
I don't know for how long, but
The Imperial Palace was right next to it, I think, and that one's gone.
oh yeah, pretty much everything from the Bellagio between up like where they used to have the Monte Carlo. That stuff's all gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So on that trip, a couple memories from that was going to the Sahara, playing blackjack with you guys, being up okay, and then switching dealers, kind of like Clark in this movie, and then losing my money. I didn't like go in the hole, but I lost everything that I gained, which I was not happy about.
You were not happy about that.
I was not happy about that at all. We spent
I know the feeling.
all day Sunday in the sports book at the Mirage, watching games, betting on NFL games. That was a lot of fun. But my favorite memory from that trip was I think it would have been Sunday morning. I had to make a beer run because, of course, you can bring coolers into the sports book with you, which I thought was weird and awesome. So we didn't have to, wait on drink tickets and everything.
Oh, I don't remember that at all. Really?
Bring a whole cooler, and somebody brought a collapsible cooler, so it would fit in a suitcase, and then you open it up, throw ice and beer in it. You just wheel it right into the
you serious, Clark?
sports book. Oh yeah. Yeah, because I went on the beer run. So I go on this beer run.
I remember leaving to go. There was a McDonald's right across the street, and we would go there and get food quick and come back. And that's what I remember.
I did that as well. I did the breakfast order, took everybody's order, and then came back.
That's right.
We had to get down there. We had to get down there at 5:30 in the morning Vegas time to hold our seats.
That's right.
Remember that?
Oh
in the
my
sports
God.
book. So we were all dead tired. And of course, if you fell asleep in your chair, an usher would come by and kick you out because you can't sleep in the sports book. So I went around, got everybody's breakfast order, ran across the street to McDonald's, brought it all back. And then I went on a beer run. So I walked down to this liquor store Sunday morning, and it's just gorgeous. It's sunny. It's not hot yet. And it's quiet. There's nobody out on the strip at 9:00 in the morning. And it was just cool to see the city like that rather than all the hustle and bustle.
Like the city is all yours, Gifford.
Yeah, it was just really a nice walk down to the liquor store. Then, of course, I loaded up on I don't know how many cases of beer and caught a taxi back to the Mirage. But that was cool. Seeing Vegas in that perspective was neat. So, yeah, those are my two stories of heading to Vegas. I'll turn it over to Brad.
I thought you were going to say, because actually you guys stayed one extra night. I had to go back to go to work. And I thought you were going to say the Monday night Brett Favre game, because I know how much you loved that.
Oh, God, no.
That was the game after his dad died, right? And
Oh, my God.
You really want me to unpack all that right now?
No, I don't. I was just sure that's what you were going to say.
No, let's go with happy memories.
All right. I've been to Vegas 8 times, and everyone has been different and meaning and like memorable. And so I'm just going to quick run through like each one and what was different about them. So I don't know if you went in 98 or 97, like you said, but my first trip was 98 and we stayed at the Sahara, just like you.
Nice.
Pretty much. But that one was, so my parents went, and also I had some aunts and uncles there. And so they paid for me to go. And so it was me with a lot of my older adult people. Although my sister and brother-in-law, Craig, they did go with. And so I hung out with them, and that was fun. There were some people more my own age there. But so I stayed in a room with my parents at the Sahara. They had a different room. But it was still fun, and we did a bunch of fun stuff. We went to Hoover Dam. We went to Death Valley. We rented a van and went to Death Valley, which was really cool. We went across the street to the Stardust, which is no longer there, and we saw a topless show with my mom and dad, just kind of like Rusty and European Vacation.
Which was really cool.
What was your hooker's name?
My aunt and uncle, my mom and dad, my brother-in-law, and my sister and me were all sitting way up front watching this topless show. It was quite a scene. And that's also the same, casino and place where they filmed Showgirls and where Nomi Malone, Elizabeth Berkley danced was at the Stardust. So I thought that was great. I think that's like when she got out of the little place and went to the big time, it was at the Stardust.
Okay.
I got to play golf. It wasn't a fancy course, but we played in Boulder City. And so it was just a really cool trip because it was, they paid for everything and I got to see basically everything you want to see. I'm not 21. Oh, no, I was 22, I guess. Yeah. So it was fun.
Right.
Second time I went was in 2002 and we actually went with three couples, me and my wife. And then I think you were invited on this too, Pete, but it ended up being Kim's friends Stacy and Tara and their husbands. And kind of back then we all hung out a lot more than we do now. So it kind of seems funny to look back that we went on a trip like that. But we stayed at the MGM, but we went to the Sahara every night. And Travis just loved that place. And we gambled there and we had a great time gambling there. And so that was a fun trip. In 2003, we went for Dave's bachelor party. Dave, who is one of our co-hosts. But this was a unique one, kind of, because it was a lot of fun, but it was also a bachelorette party. Mm-hmm. And so my wife was on that trip. And I think, Gifford, you refused to go because you were not in agreement with that situation.
Well, that's not the reason.
Really?
It was because I couldn't afford to go and probably couldn't get off of work to go.
Well, I think you made it sound like you just couldn't support that situation.
Yeah, I did have
really
an issue with that situation. I did.
But it was way fun, and we did. Guys did things, girls did things, and we did things together. But anyway, that was a good story. 2004 is when we went for the opening of the NFL with you, and we stayed at the Mirage. And here's my best memory of that one. So Gifford got all mad because he lost his money at the Sahara. So we're walking back, and it's probably a good mile, or maybe even more, to the Mirage.
Yeah, I think it's probably more than that.
And we're trying to just have fun, and Gifford is like half a mile ahead of us, and he just won't slow down. And we're like, God, he's so mad. What a baby. And we're just ripping on you. And we get back, and we get up to our floor where our room is. And halfway down the hall, you can smell this stink. And so he was mad, and that's why he left us. But he also had to go to the bathroom really bad.
Thanks, Brad.
And you could smell it. But it's so funny, and it was so amazing. And so then once we found out that, everybody had a good laugh, and everybody loosened up, and everybody was happy again.
All right.
We went again in 2008 for a different bachelor party for Hummel, and this was not only a great weekend because it was a bachelor party, but it was on the same weekend as the opening rounds of the NCAA tournament. And
I was on this one.
Not only did we have fun and do all the fun stuff, but we sat in a sports book all day for the Saturday second round games, and we were there for a lot of Friday, and every time we went out, there were games it was just awesome to be there for that weekend. I'd love to do that again. 2011, my wife and I got to go, and this was a great trip because it was paid for because she won it at work. She got to play at a anniversary party that they had. She got to play a dice game, and she didn't even know how to play the game. And she'll tell you that she didn't even know what she was doing, but she won that game somehow. And we won a first class VIP trip to the Bellagio. And so we got picked up by a limo, and we got to stay in the Bellagio. We had a huge, awesome suite. We got to go down to the separate room where they had special drinks and chocolate covered strawberries every day. And it happened to be the same week as our 10-year anniversary. So it was a pretty awesome trip. And then we did go to the Sahara again to relive some old times, but we learned on that trip that it was about to close and get torn down, and so that was very sad. Two more. 2012 we went because the Gophers played UNLV, so me and Hummel, Chris, and Dave went out for the Gopher UNLV game, and we stayed a couple extra nights, and that was a lot of fun. And then the last one I mentioned 2 weeks ago, I got to go with my family too. So my kids got to go on our big road trip that I told you, our Griswold family road trip. And we spent a night in Vegas. We stayed at the Stratosphere, went to the top, walked the whole strip. And so that was a different trip because my young kids were with, but they loved it. They had fun. And so every time it's been a little bit different group, once with my wife, once with the family, different groups of friends. And every time it's been great. I love Vegas.
So you mentioned the Hummel bachelor party in 2008, right?
Yes.
So on that trip, that was the one where I was the first one out there. We all just booked our own plane tickets, and we were just like, okay, meet at the Luxor, which was where we're staying, right? And Dave, our other co-host, was the one that emailed me a couple of days beforehand. He's like, Pete, this is what you got to do. I'm like, okay, what's this about?
That's right.
And
You did this. You nailed it.
He goes, when you get to the Luxor, when you check in, discreetly slip the clerk a $20 bill. And what you say is, hey, do you have any complimentary upgrades available, room upgrades? I'm like, yeah, this is gonna really go well. But I was like nervous as
Chevy
hell.
Chase
I thought I was
tried
gonna get
this
laughed.
too, didn't he? In the
I think he did, yeah.
He did it with coins.
Yeah, I love that part.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I'm like, this is not gonna work. But then it was a woman that was working, and she was like, well, yeah, let me look this up. And I thought there was no way, because like you said, it was the opening round of the NCAA tournament, which is a huge weekend at Vegas. It was also coming into Easter weekend, which any holiday.
Yeah, it was Easter.
Because people
Sunday
are
too.
Yeah. And so, but then she pulled it right up and said, here you go. We'll give you this big, beautiful suite. And it had a living room. It had a huge kitchen bar area, a beautiful view of the city, great master bedroom, and all of this kind of stuff. It's like, wow, I'm going to do that every time I go to Vegas. So just last year, just before the pandemic, it was in February of last year, Jenny and I go. And so we had booked a room at the Plaza because I prefer Fremont Street over the Strip anyway, if that's what you're going to stay. I think that's more fun anyway. So I'm like, Jenny, I got this under control. We're going to get like the greatest suite you've ever seen. And she's like rolling her eyes like, okay, yeah, right. And then, so then I try the same thing. And of course, the old lady working, she was like, just super pissed at me for even attempting such a thing. I could get in serious trouble for this.
Oh, really?
And all of that kind of stuff. So it did not go well.
You don't do that downtown, Pete. They got high class down there.
I guess, yeah. But downtown, if you go to Vegas, downtown is way more fun. The gambling is cheaper. Everything is cheaper. The people are way more fun. There's probably more to see on the Strip, but it's, I don't know. I just have more fun. I like to play craps. You guys play craps?
I don't know how to play anything but blackjack.
It's not that hard to learn.
Story I did, but
that's a good one.
But every time I play craps, almost every time, I come away winning at least $100 to $200.
It looks more fun. I'd like to play it. So you should teach me, or we should go next time.
We should
go together.
Let's go. And it's a lot of fun. You meet people that are all having fun. And the last time that I went, it was on that same trip. I played at Binion's, and I won a free jacket because I was a shooter, and I got to roll 42 times in a row, which is like obscene for them. It's like they never, because it's like you keep doing well, you keep the dice until you crap out.
Yeah. Nick Papagiorgio, exactly.
So anyway, that's I have more stories about Las Vegas, but maybe we'll put it on the Patreon if we do that.
Yeah, there's a few others too that
Good call.
With that, why don't we dive into the movie Vegas Vacation? Brad, let's start with you and get your thoughts on the movie.
Just my overall thoughts?
Sure. Whatever you want to say, Brad.
All right. Well, I'll just start with a couple things at the beginning. So I know Dave talked about this last week, the beginnings of the movies, 2 weeks ago, I guess, with the European one, and how he likes the Pig and the Pope beginning better than any other. I think you're crazy. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the beginning of this movie because I think Chevy Chase driving around acting crazy it's not good Chevy Chase. It's like over the top, it's like too hard.
Right.
But I did love that they're playing Good Vibrations at the beginning. And so it's kind of like had something I liked and didn't like at the same time. And so that held it together enough until they got to the house. But even telling the family and stuff and the kids not being excited, because it seems weird that they wouldn't want to go. I don't know. The beginning didn't do a whole lot for me. And this is a movie that, I haven't watched it like the other ones, like, a million times, like Vacation and Christmas Vacation. But I've seen it on TV enough. But, when I see it on TV, I never see the beginning. You always find it somewhere in the middle. And so watching it this time from the beginning reminded me of actually how it starts and some of the stuff I had missed. And there's not much to miss there because it's not a great start. The other thing I'll say, and then I do have like funny lines and things that I liked about it, but again, they changed the kids like in every one. I love the kids in this movie. I mean, I think they're perfect.
Yeah, both of them were great.
For this particular movie and the setting of this movie, the ages of the two kids and their interactions, I thought they were both awesome. Ethan Embry and what her name, Marisol something, the daughter.
Yep.
But I just thought they were fitting. They're attractive kids. They fit in the whole Vegas idea, but they're old enough that they can pull off what they're doing, and they played their roles well. And so it's different than like Dana Barron and Anthony Michael Hall, or even in Christmas Vacation. They seem a little older than most of those versions, but that's good for this movie. And I loved the two kids, so that's what I'll start with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
How about you, Gif?
Yeah, you go, Gif.
Well, yeah, the beginning of this movie, again, same deal. The only thing I do like about it is his singing to Good Vibrations in the car, because obviously everybody does that, so that's relatable. You're just a horrible singer in the car. So in the first film, Rusty is 13 because we learn he's 15 in the second film. So right now he's 27 years old. So I always love how they do the kids, and the kids always stay the same age.
Well, clearly in Christmas Vacation, they didn't follow a timeline like that. So we already know that's going to happen.
In this one, again, I can't tell which one's the older, which one's the younger. They seem like they would be almost twins because of the story that Clark tells about rolling them up in the blanket on the bed. Mm-hmm. And, it seemed like they were babies at the same time. So it almost seems like they're twins in this movie, which I like.
I never really thought about it until we started talking about it on this podcast. I always assumed Rusty was older, except in Christmas, but you really don't know in any of them for sure. So it's made me kind of blown my mind. Oh my God.
But on that note, one fun fact that I found, a couple actually, is that the girl that plays Audrey is older. The actress is always older than Rusty in all four movies.
Oh, they have been in all four?
Yes.
Okay.
And in this one, she's 5 years older than Rusty.
Really? That's surprising.
As far as the actress. Yeah, you can't really tell. I think because she's a little shorter, but yeah, that was one fact that I came across. Anyway, go on.
Well, and I kind of agree with Dave when he was talking about the ages, because in the first Vacation movie, you had Audrey was smoking weed and Rusty was being introduced to popping his baloney. So you'd think that
the guy thought was really neat last year,
where the sister's older, and obviously if you're just, I don't want to make any assumptions, but if you're just learning that at 13, I would think that he's a little younger. But in this one, like they don't seem like, obviously neither of them are 21 years old. We learn that because they can't gamble, but it seems like they're right at the same age. A couple things that they keep going with, running gags throughout all four movies, is, of course, Clark can't remember Audrey's name multiple times. I mean, it's right away in when they're sitting in the kitchen talking about their vacation. He can't remember Audrey's name. It happens a couple other times during the movie. And then one other thing that runs throughout, and they get it going right away on the plane, is it's vacation time. So that means it's whoopee time for Clark and Ellen. And of course he brings it up and she is ready to go. She's
always into it.
And they keep that running theme throughout all the movies. And I love it. So those are a couple of my initial pieces to start out with here.
So you mentioned some of the running gags. I think that sometimes the running gags, they try too hard and it just it loses its humor for me. on a couple of them. I don't have any examples that I can think of offhand or that I wrote down, but it's like, well, I mean, like some of Cousin Eddie's stuff. It's like it's like they're redoing some of the same scenes.
Thing.
They're trying to redo some of the same scenes, but like a little bit different, of course, because it's a different movie, but it's a lot of the same jokes and the same gags, which sometimes it works and sometimes it's just stupid. And I thought that's where this movie kind of lost me a little bit. I think they tried too hard on some of that kind of stuff.
I didn't notice that. The one that I did like is when they bring Christy Brinkley in and they play Holiday Road. And at first I'm like, well, okay, this is kind of forced. But then when they show the baby and she speeds away, I think it's pretty funny. And I like how it's a nod to the original, but it's a different thing. And it's just like that. It's done. It's over. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and one of the other things, the running gags I like is right away when you see Eddie, he's still wearing those white slip-on shoes.
Oh, really?
The very first movie and the same ones that he gave to Clark. He wears them in the living room in the Christmas movie. So they kept, he's still wearing those same beat up white shoes with the gold chain on them. I love it.
I don't think I've actually noticed that before.
No. I do a little
and some of the gags too that were a little bit over the top too. It's like, come on, he's got all this money that's just buried in different spots out in the desert, and it's like, come on. What made the movies like Vacation and Christmas Vacation stand out is because they were super funny, but they weren't over the top. It's like these a lot of this could actually happen to you or me, right? Like the ladder scene
family
we talked
vacation
about,
and the Christmas family coming to your house. Those things happen. I mean, that's over the top, but you can relate to it totally.
Where this one lost me was the whole Hoover Dam thing, where he's climbing up. He gets locked out of the Hoover Dam. It's like, come on, it's not even. They try to compare that to. I keep comparing that scene to like the ladder scene in Christmas Vacation. It's it's because it's so real. It could, I've been there with the ladder, but it's like, come on, you don't just lock yourself out of the Hoover Dam. That's like so outrageous and so cartoonish.
Focus more on the stuff that I liked and not because there's definitely some dumb stuff in this movie. I'm never going to say it's anywhere near as good as the first or the third one. Right. But there is stuff I like. And in that Hoover Dam scene, which a lot of it's dumb, and when he's flying on the wire, it looks so fake. It's crazy. But there's one thing in there that I thought was actually pretty funny, and it's just a little detail. It's when the water starts shooting out and he tries to put the gum in. Yeah. And then when it starts blowing a bubble and he tries to put another piece of gum on the bubble. That was pretty funny.
See, it's the subtle stuff that works.
The little thing was funny.
The big stuff is not funny.
Because when the water started shooting out, I was kind of annoyed. This is kind of dumb. But then the bubble thing and the gum on the bubble made me like, oh, that's kind of funny.
I like the damn tour guide. I'm your damn guide.
Yeah.
You got any damn questions? I thought that was funny, but I'm kind of a knucklehead.
True.
My favorite part of this whole movie is the entire Nick Papagiorgio storyline. That to me is the saving grace to this entire film.
It's what ties it together the best, because there's stuff about Chevy Chase I like and don't like in this, and with Ellen and everything. But you're right, it does. It like ties it together and keeps it just good enough to keep watching.
Well, this movie compared to it compares most closely to European Vacation in that it does have little subplots for each character, which Vacation and Christmas Vacation, for their benefit, don't do that. But this one does a better job of it than European Vacation, I think.
I agree.
Sure.
Both the kids' storylines, I think, are good. I like I said, both kids are excellent and their stories are entertaining.
Right.
They set that off in the beginning, like they did with European, where they're flying and they each have their dream. So you realize like what they're looking forward to on the vacation. They kind of do the same thing in the limo scene when they're all looking out the windows. And you can tell that, Clark is all about gambling. That's all he wants to do. Yep. Ellen wants to see Wayne Newton, and you can tell that's going to be a thing. Rusty's about girls and gambling, and you really don't get an idea of what Audrey really wants to do because she couldn't see out the window or whatever.
Well, she didn't want to go, but when she puts her head out of the sunroof, she gets excited, and you can tell that she's going to start to find something she likes.
She's going to go wild, and then she meets her. They see her cousin,
dying. Right?
That is a stripper.
Yeah, dancer, Pete.
Dancer. Sorry.
Yes. Exotic dancer. But what works with Rusty turning into Nick Papagiorgio, he dresses like a dad already. When he comes to the hotel the first time they get out of the limo, like he's wearing a polo shirt tucked into khaki pants. He doesn't dress like a kid. So for him to pull off this Nick Papagiorgio thing as far as being an older guy, like he already dresses like, a 35-year-old dad. So I thought they kind of had him dressed properly for that role already. But it was just the best part of the whole.
Speaking of Ethan Embry and how good he was. So have you both seen the new Vacation?
Yes.
Which I didn't think it was terrible. I actually thought it was pretty decent.
There were some highlights in that movie.
But I'm not a huge fan of Ed Helms anymore. And I just had this thought. What if Ethan Embry had played the role of Rusty I think that movie could have been even better because
it would have been good.
The way that he seems more entertaining and enjoyable, and so I'd like to see that movie with him in that role instead.
Well, let's not advocate for them to redo the new Vacation movie. I don't think that's something that needs to be done.
Well, they need to do a new European Vacation now.
Sure, yes, I'm all for that. At least try to do something a little.
Dave will love that. Different. Anyway, go on.
My other favorite part of the movie was when Clark and Eddie go to the casino and there's war, pick a number, coin toss.
I love that too.
Which hand
that was kind of funny. Yeah. I had that
all those
written
fake
down.
games. And
it's a little corny, but it was funny.
Plus the desperation, how hard he's trying, and it's just so dumb.
Flip a coin.
And when he's at the pick a number, he's sitting there staring at the guy, and he's like, and he goes 3, and the guy goes, nope, 7. What? Oh, I absolutely loved that part of the movie. Oh.
And it's a good time because he's trying desperately to win his money. It's a good time in the movie. It's one of my favorite scenes too. You've named some of my favorites. The Christy Brinkley part, the bubble gum, that one, and then we mentioned earlier how he tries to hand all that change and be discreet about the tip, but it's just change over and over. Which reminded me of you, Gifford, when you like to throw change.
Yeah, we don't need to bring out. We already brought up an embarrassing story about me on this one. We don't need to bring up another one.
I'll just leave that. But you have a similar.
I do have a very, very similar story. I wasn't as discreet.
No.
With my change, but yes, it's a similar story. I got a similar response as well.
A couple other things I liked that you haven't said yet. Wallace Shawn, he's always great. And so he's the dealer.
Yep.
Who messes with him and just kills him. Yep. I mean, he's really good for that role because he's such a little jerk. Eddie is too much in this movie, but I did like how he's drinking Busch Lights everywhere in the casinos, and then at the end at the wedding, he's holding the Busch Light again. I did think that was funny. And actually, I don't know why, but you know how we talked about the end and like the credits and the different songs. And how your European Vacation had that horrible ending with the Statue of Liberty. I really like the end of this, where they all have their own car and they're swerving in and out on the highway heading back. Yeah. I just thought that was fun, a good ending to it there. So
that was a good throwback because an interesting point that I came across that I didn't think about while watching it, but the throwback there is that the original Vacation had them driving out and flying back. Whereas this one closed it out by having them flying out and driving back, and it's a glory scene when they're, or a good positive vibe when they're actually driving back.
What a great observation there.
Yeah. Well, and what I also like towards the end of this movie is that we have our favorite actor in the movie, the minister at the wedding, who was also Mr. Heckles in Friends.
Oh yeah, he's
Kramer, and the junkyard
he was
guy from
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad. Yep.
That's right.
So we've talked about him on past episodes as well.
Did you? I have a few lines that I really liked that I thought were really funny in
Sure.
this movie. Did you have anything prepared for lines?
I just got a couple.
Okay.
Not much that we hadn't already addressed. No.
One of my favorites is so you mentioned when they tried to join the Mile High Club and they got the blue from the toilet bowl. I love when he tells the woman, "My pen burst," and then he also said, "It's a birthmark."
It's a birthmark.
Those were hilarious because it was so overdone. And then I like the line, "We have a lot of sightseeing to do, and now we need to add a tetanus shot to the list." And then there's one by Eddie. I'm not even sure if this is funny, but it's such a stupid line. It stood out where he says, "I haven't seen a beating like that since someone stuck a banana in my pants and turned a monkey loose." I can't tell if that's the dumbest line ever or if it's kind of funny, but it definitely stands out.
Well, that's an example too of where they're throwing back to some of the other lines in the other vacation movies, right? So,
right.
I don't know, it's a little over the top version
in the movie that I really like the pen burst line.
Right.
What'd you have, Gifford?
I just had a couple because I already had the 3. Nope, 7. I got that.
that's the one I had too. That was good.
So I love that one too because the other games, like, you legitimately can see winner and loser, but that one you just got to trust the dealer.
The dealer can tell you whatever the heck you want.
Dumb.
You just go nope. So the scene after Ellen meets Wayne Newton for the first time, they're just having the drink. And by the way, Ellen looks amazing in this movie. She is wearing that dress like she's doing it a favor. I mean, kudos to her because she was really looking quite nice in this movie. So anyway, they're back up in the room and Clark is watching television trying to learn how to play backgammon, I believe. And Ellen's all horned up because she just met her, sexual fantasy in Wayne Newton. So she finally jumps him and turns the lights off and he goes, "Hard 6 coming out." And then the line I always think of when I think of this movie is at the end when Rusty's explaining the cars and he just goes, "I put in $1, I want a car. I put in $1, I want a car." I just love that.
Oh, and I like it's another little tiny side character, but the guy that takes his picture for the fake ID, I think his name is Larry Miller, and he's been in Seinfeld, and he's a really funny guy too, and that's a fun role there.
Yep. Yeah, he does a great job.
You brought up, I'm sorry, do you have any more lines?
No, those are the only ones I had.
No, the other thing I wanted to say that I really liked about this one, you brought up, because, especially, it's mostly in the first one, where Clark's always looking at other women, and I don't think he ever would cheat on her, but, he's just got that crazy middle-aged dad guy going on there. Yep. But in this movie...
Like all of us.
In this movie, it's Ellen, and she's the one obsessed with somebody else. And we get to see her trying to what is she going to do with Wayne Newton? And she's about to cheat and she gets mad at Clark and she tries to step out. And so I like that reversal too. And from the first one to this one.
But remember, it looked like that she was going to cheat on him in European Vacation as well.
She was?
Remember? She was mad at She was mad at Clark, and then she wound up with that guy that turned out being a criminal. But then he tried to make his move, and then she pushed him off. But it looked like that. Yeah, okay.
I blocked that.
Well, it looked like that she was gonna mess around with him or whatever.
But here, her mind is not right. Like Clark's, his mind he goes crazy and does dumb things, and that's what she's doing with Wayne Newton here. And I also like the way that he kind of comes at her because this is not long after Honeymoon in Vegas and Indecent Proposal, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like a nod to those movies, but the way he tries to convince her at the end, it really made me think of those movies too, but in a more, I guess Honeymoon in Vegas is a comedy, but it was kind of felt like a throwback to those movies.
Sure.
All right. I got a couple of fun facts that I was able to dig up here. If you're ready for that.
Facts.
One thing, did anybody know, a trivia question, can anybody name the famous comedian that was the old guy that died at the end of the movie?
Oh,
That's Sid Caesar. Sid Caesar.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't hear you. You're correct. Sid Caesar. The confusing directions that were given to the Griswolds when they were checking in, they were actual directions. Those were actual directions to the hotel room in the Mirage.
Wow. Oh, and that was that Edie McClurg
from SNL?
Yeah. No, it was Julia Sweeney. It was Julia Sweeney.
Sorry. I got
who played It's Pat, right?
Yep.
This is the first vacation movie to be rated PG, which is interesting that they would have picked the Vegas one to do that.
Oh, good point.
Of all of them.
Hey, one quick thing about the directions. This is another callback to the other vacation movies, because as soon as that woman got done doing all those directions, what does Clark do? Russ! He yells for Russ. When he's in distress, he yells for Rusty in all these movies. And you got that? He goes, yeah, whatever.
Right here, Dad.
Go ahead, Pete.
Producer Jerry Weintraub, if I'm pronouncing that right, he's very close friends with Steve Wynn, which is one of the reasons they picked Vegas. And Wynn allowed him to shoot at the Mirage, which is Steve Wynn is the big casino owner that owns a whole bunch of those properties out there. Well, it's the Wynn and the Encore, of course. Wayne Newton's house, that actually was his house. It was filmed inside his actual living room.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
That's a fun fact.
It actually is no longer his house. He sold it after the movie, but it is his house. The Griswold's house in this movie is the same as the house in Christmas Vacation.
Really?
Just know how they all changed in the other movies, but this one's the same as what I read. It didn't look the same. I don't remember it thinking.
I remember them sitting around the table, and I guess I didn't recognize anything there. But
and the neighbor's house is still there too. Is the other piece of that one that I found.
Yeah, a lot. So one quick thing on your fun facts: Jerry Weintraub is the high roller at the craps table. The producer of the movie is also the high roller at the craps table that Nick Papagiorgio does a good job of rolling the dice for. He's been in, I think he was in a few other movies. I think he might have been in Ocean's 11.
Yes, that was my next one. Is that some of some of the high rollers in this movie also played high rollers in Ocean's 11.
Okay, yeah, because they look familiar.
So, yep. That's all I have for fun facts. I hope those are fun.
They were awesome.
They were awesome fun.
So I got a couple on that. So this is the first vacation movie without a Hughes writing credit. And
on that one, he didn't even know that it was coming out, and he found out like the rest of the public, like anybody else. He did not know it was coming out. Yeah,
they didn't loop him in at all, huh?
Right.
And then it had a $25 million budget, and its domestic box office was $36.4 million, and it opened at number 4. I guess I don't know what else was out at that time, but those are a couple of the numbers on that one.
Yeah, I don't think it was a huge hit or anything, but it did okay. Oh man, speaking of the numbers here, so we talked about the Rotten Tomato scores and how low European Vacation was. This one only got 13%.
And what was European?
Like 34.
Was it higher? Oh, really?
Yeah, so I disagree with that one. This is no great movie, but
wow,
better than that.
Yes,
it's watchable. It's a watchable movie. That's how
I would say so. Yeah.
Grab it. I thought it's not the best, obviously, but I thought it was coming at the end with no John Hughes, no National Lampoons. I still feel like it's a worthy installment. It's, we included in our thing here. I think it's worth it. The kids are the thing that I think make it. I think the great casting with the kids and some of those other side characters really push it to a better level.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's too much Eddie in this one. he's okay, but
Yeah.
it's too much. It has some really dumb parts, but there's enough laughs, there's enough moments that keep me interested. And when it's on TV and I come across it, I end up sitting there and watching it quite often when I see it. I feel like it could have been a huge disaster, and according to the critics, it probably was. But I don't think it was. I think it falls nowhere near the classics of the other two, but also I think it's better than European Vacation in my opinion.
Not into the abyss that
Right.
European Vacation was.
Yeah.
Right. It's a big drop off from this one to the first and third films. But
And I
then
think,
there's another step down to European.
and for me, this is the only Chevy Chase movie like where he's the star that I ever liked at all after basically Christmas Vacation. He just kind of dropped off the whole scene after that. Which is kind of sad because he's in like 5 of my all-time favorite comedies. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Chevy Chase if you guys are ready for that, if you want to.
Yes.
Do you have any final thoughts on the movie first?
No, I'm good.
Nope. I'm good to go.
So my top 5 Chevy Chase, and I'm guessing you will agree with me. I just want to see it's Caddyshack, Vacation, Fletch, Three Amigos, and Christmas Vacation.
Those are the ones that I have.
Would either of you?
Yeah.
Okay, so he has 3 other movies that I think I either used to like or at least decent. So Spies Like Us, I thought I really liked. I watched it about a year ago, and I did not find it very funny anymore.
Okay.
But this week, I wanted to watch Fletch. My brother-in-law was quoting Fletch. My brother is always quoting Fletch. I haven't seen it in a while, and with all this Chevy Chase stuff, I wanted to watch Fletch. So I ended up watching Fletch, Fletch Lives, and Funny Farm in this last week. And Fletch is a classic. It's awesome. Fletch Lives is kind of like Vegas Vacation, where it's good enough. I think
it's good. The side. If I remember right, it's like the plot line, like the side characters get kind of goofy, but
yes,
Chase himself is really funny, and like the baseline.
He's fine. Yeah. Some of it's a little bit dated. Some of it doesn't age very well too, because it's a lot about he goes to this southern plantation that he's supposed to inherit, and there's just some weird. You just get some weird vibes with some of it from that time. But I did really enjoy Funny Farm. I think that's a pretty good movie. It's not in those top 5, not even close.
I've never seen that movie.
I suggest you watch it. You would like it.
This man sure does have a taste for testicles. What?
That's a good line. So, and I thought about it. You think Chevy Chase was in all these movies you loved, but really it boils down to from 1980 to 1989, he did more than 8 movies, but he basically did 8 movies that I liked or used to love, and then that's it. And then he just died, and except for Vegas, which I think is at least okay.
Well, and the quality, like you say, they're so high because I would assume all of us, Vacation, Christmas Vacation, Three Amigos, and Caddyshack. I mean, I'm okay on Fletch. It's all right movie, but those other 4 are so high up on my list of comedies that, I mean, that's all you need. I mean, that's a career. They're so good.
Exactly. That's why you love him.
You think
they're so hard to live up to.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So if I was going on a rating of 0 to 100, those 4 are 100 easy, and Fletch is like a 98. Yep. Maybe it's not. Right. Maybe it's not, but it's close. It's it's a little different than those. Some of those are more of a ensemble too, where there's other great actors in them. Fletch is all him, but he pulls it off. I mean, it's right there with him. So, but then I was looking too just to see. So what happened after 1989? And he did have a few like bit parts that I did like. The only starring thing that I ever kind of liked was Vegas Vacation, but I totally forget. He has a cameo in one of my other all-time favorite movies, an LA Story. He tries to get into a restaurant that Steve Martin tries, Lidio.
Yeah.
And they won't let him in, and it's really funny. And I forgot about that.
You barely notice that it's only for 1 second. It's on like a security video, isn't it? Yeah.
But it's funny. And then I watched Orange County recently, and he had one little scene in that was pretty funny. He was in Hot Tub Time Machine, which I thought was a good casting idea because that was a good throwback movie, and to put him as the repairman, I thought that was a good thing. Of course, Community was like his one comeback that was pretty good, although I think everybody hated him, but he was still pretty good on it. And then we mentioned the New Vacation, where he's in it at the very end, and I like that him and Beverly D'Angelo make an appearance there too. So he did some small things that were kind of okay, and Community was like pretty good, but he just sucked after 1989.
Well, he had that talk show.
That's right. That was a disaster too.
That was just terrible. I remember trying to watch it when it came on, and it was terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. Any other thoughts on Chevy or things I missed?
Well, there's the little known or well known secret, I guess, that he's difficult to work with.
Yes.
I think that kind of caught up with him. And he was kind of coming out of his prime, maybe at the end of the 80s, and people just decided, well, it's not worth the hassle. So that's very unfortunate because he was.
Well, you think about it,
was amazing.
The only other one that might be in his league is Steve Martin, and Steve Martin is able to keep it going for a lot longer. And I don't know, and he's better to work with.
Steve Martin is just, Chevy Chase is hilarious, but Steve Martin, I mean, he's a writer. He can play music. He can just do it all. The guy is immensely talented, and he's, I think, a good guy. Hopefully,
I think he's a pretty intelligent guy too.
I think he's way smart. Yeah. So, he could just branch out and do so many different things too. And so, yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Do we want to go to our top 5 Vegas movies? I've asked everybody to put together a list of their top Las Vegas themed movies. So, Gifford, why don't we start with you?
All right. So I thought this would be harder than it actually was. I just looked up all the movies that had Vegas in them.
Yeah, a lot of these though, it's not like it's the whole movie. There's scenes and parts. So I don't know what you guys did with that, but
sure. Well, I did ones that were primarily in Vegas. So like Swingers, I didn't include in my top 5.
Oh, see, I did.
I did as well.
My number 5 was a movie called The Grand. It's got Woody Harrelson, Cheryl Hines, David Cross, Ray Romano. It's about a poker tournament, and I thought it was very funny.
It's a comedy then?
Yep. Yeah. And it's kind of an improv type situation, but I really enjoyed it. So that was my distant number 5. My top 4, you can put them in whatever order you want. I've got the first Austin Powers movie, The Hangover, Casino, and Ocean's 11. Ocean's 12 and 13 were, I didn't think, well, the second one wasn't in Vegas, but the third one was. I didn't think they were that great. But Ocean's 11, I really like the newer one, not the Sinatra one. But so those are my top 5.
The Grand, by the way, is on Amazon Prime, I see, so I might check that out.
Yep. Yeah, I find it hilarious. So a lot of good actors in that one.
All right, well done.
So shall I go next then, Pete?
Go for it, Brad, and then I'll wrap it up.
All right, so ours are similar, but you brought up one of the things that I was wondering about, like, the list I saw, a lot of them, like Swingers, for example, it's a very, very memorable Vegas scene.
Right. Yes.
So I thought if it's really that memorable, and like people quote Vegas Baby, I mean, all the time, and it's like, so I thought that's gonna be. So the top 2 I put in movies that really are all in Vegas, and I love the movie Honeymoon in Vegas. It's not an award winner, but I love Nicolas Cage in it. At the time, I loved Sarah Jessica Parker. She had just come off of LA Story, which I love. James Caan's good. I loved it. I thought it was really good. So I made that number 1 because I feel like that's one I could sit down and just watch like almost any time.
Yeah, it's on my
I got
list.
Ocean's 11 at number 2, and I put the old and the new one because I really enjoyed the new one. I loved it. But then I went back and watched the old one, and I know people talk about it not being great, but if you guys know, hopefully,
it's good.
I am a huge fan of the Rat Pack. Like, I love Dean Martin. He's one of my things that I just love to learn about. And so I really enjoyed watching the old one and just comparing the two and seeing the old Vegas. But in the movie it's so different because it's Vegas is not very big.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had Swingers at 3 because, like I said, I think the scene is that integral to the movie and memorable. And then Austin Powers is the one I had forgot about until I looked it up. And that it's not all in Vegas, but a lot of it is.
It's not.
And Austin Powers is, and the Vegas scenes are just great.
Yes.
And then my 5th one, there's not much in Vegas, but I'm a sucker for Con Air, and I love the way it ends and hitting the Hard Rock, and so I put Con Air as my number 5. I'm not a big fan of The Hangover, so I don't ever feel like I want to see it again. Not a big fan.
All right,
it's probably what.
I think everything that I have, we've discussed. I actually had honorable mention Austin Powers. Austin Powers is probably the best movie or the funniest movie of them all, but I didn't think of it as much of a Vegas movie for some of the same reasons that I guess I'd forgotten.
It's quite a bit, though. I would say it's about
it is quite a bit.
Yeah. I don't think of it as a Las Vegas themed movie. Now, Swingers, which is number 1 on my list, I think of as a Vegas movie. I don't know why, but
sure.
I had Con Air just as a joke because I think it's such a terrible movie. I had it on there. I actually had honorable mention.
It's just fun.
Honorable mention. I had Rain Man. I came across that one. There's a really memorable, obviously a really memorable scene there, and it's a great movie.
Seen Rain Man.
What?
No, never. So I saw it on the list, and I'm like, God, that's a Vegas movie too.
God, it's a fantastic. There's a really super memorable scene in Las Vegas.
I'm going to add that to my list too. Someday I got to see that movie. It's just we've talked. That's one of those movies I just missed.
Wow. People have major holes in their. I've got plenty of them too.
Yeah, I do too.
Major holes.
My actual top 5. I also had Leaving Las Vegas as my honorable mention too.
Yes, I do. I like that. I was thinking about it, but it's just so depressing. I didn't want to put it.
It is.
But it's a fantastic
good
movie. And again, Nicolas Cage, he's like Mr. Vegas.
Yep. And my top 5, actually, I had Hangover. I don't think I heard. Did anybody say 21? I love that movie.
No, but that's a good movie.
Yeah, I've seen it, but it's whatever.
The other one too, Molly's Game. That's in Vegas, isn't it?
No, I thought that was
not?
New York, wasn't it?
Oh, okay. I just kind of thought because it's gambling, but maybe it's not.
I saw that not that long ago. Yeah, it's more private poker games though.
But those are both movies I enjoyed a lot.
I like Molly's Game. That was good.
And then I had Honeymoon in Vegas, Ocean's 11, and Swingers round out my top 5.
Okay. Well, I had one other that wasn't mentioned. I thought somebody would mention it. The Cooler. Have you guys ever seen The Cooler?
I did see that one time.
No.
William H. Macy and
I remember not. It got really good reviews, but I didn't really get into it. I thought it was really dark, wasn't it? And
it was very dark, but
yeah,
I enjoyed it. But yeah.
All right. Anybody have any final thoughts to add? If not, we can.
I think that was a fun vacation that we just took. It was a good time with you guys.
That was a fun vacation. And
what are we going to be doing next month?
Well, we're going to close the yearbook on Vegas here. Gotta get that tagline in, and I think we're going back to 1995 in August. So that's going to be a fun one. Great 90s year. I love the 90s. So. We will close out this episode. We'll give you a little Preacher Row, and thanks for listening. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
See ya.
No one's gonna comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your son is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. And start to me on my nothing